Cruising, what's not to enjoy? Simon and I took our first cruise 9 years ago, and I have to say we were instantly hooked. There's a reason that 17 cruises later, we keep opting for the comfort of travel on a cruise ship. Transportation from one place to the next, easy and relaxed, unpacking that dreaded suitcase just the once, and the abundance of food at your fingertips. Although we absolutely love cruising, there's one part of cruising that we don't quite enjoy, and that's the ship's shore excursions. Don't get me wrong, when we're in port, we absolutely love to see as much as we can see, enjoy the culture, try out the food. Ship shore excursions remind me a little bit of cattle farming. There's always the herder, aka the tour guide. There's the cattle, the passengers, and as you're experiencing that shore excursion, you're pretty much guaranteed there'll be loads of mooing from the cattle. Believe it or not, they even brand you at the start of your tour. And don't forget those stray cattle, those passengers that don't listen to the instructions of the cattle herder and disappear, holding up the rest of the cattle from being able to get on with their tour. Although we are budget-conscious travellers, there are times when we want to experience specific activities that are just easier done through the ship. There's also times when we question the safety of venturing out on our own and choose a shore excursion instead. Most of the ports we've visited, we've done on our own, and we're going to create a series of videos to share what we did in each port, the experiences we had by ourselves, and how we got around. If you're interested in any of these port visits, subscribe to our channel so that you get the notification when these come out. Now, on to our port for today. Colombia, a country well known for its worldwide exportation of coffee, its beautiful historic buildings and very budget-friendly travel options. On the flip side, it's also a country known to be responsible for 40 to 70% of the world's cocaine trade, and not to mention its reputation for violent crime. Although some areas of Colombia have a do not travel advice in place, Cartagena, located on the Caribbean coast, is an area that is ranked a lot safer, and travellers are recommended to visit with a high degree of caution. In today's video, I'm going to share exactly what we did in Cartagena, what we got to see, how much it cost, and how we got around. Now, to be honest, before we arrived in port, I did have my concerns around the safety, a little bit like when we visited Honduras and Belize. However, I'm really pleased to say that our experience was that this wasn't the case. We absolutely loved our 9-hour port stop in Cartagena, and it was definitely one of our favourites on our cruise from LA to New York. Although this video is a do-it-on-your-own video, I do have to mention that we did actually purchase hop-on hop-off bus tickets from the ship, but I'm still going to class this video as doing it on your own, and that will make sense as I explain throughout the video. The hop-on hop-off bus tickets cost us $69 US per person through the ship, and the pickup spot was directly beside where the ship docked. Although the hop-on hop-off ticket also included a 90-minute guided tour, buying these tickets actually ended up just being a really expensive taxi service for us to get us from the port to the old town so that we could explore on our own. We decided to pass up on the guided walking tour when the guide on the bus shared that the first stop would be a jewellery store. In hindsight, my recommendation would be to pass on buying the hop-on hop-off bus tour and just to spend the less than $10 it would have cost to get one of the many taxis that were waiting outside the port or to grab an Uber. The hop-on hop-off bus dropped us directly at the front of the walled town, right by the clock tower monument. As you enter the walled city, it's not hard to understand why this area is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The architecture is absolutely breathtaking with endless photo opportunities. I don't think there was a moment that my camera wasn't in my hand. Walking through the plaza, there are a horde of street vendors that approach you from all over the place, but a simple no gracias resulted in them leaving us alone until we walked a bit further on and another one came to us. But they were really understanding when you said that you weren't interested. We spent most of our time wandering the picturesque streets, and although we didn't have a map, it was really easy to navigate our way around as it's not the largest of areas. In multiple areas within that walled city, there were brightly dressed women carrying fruit on their heads. Now, they were waiting to have their photos taken, and they did charge you for this, and the cost ranged between $1 and $5. The old town is actually surrounded by 11 kilometres of stone wall, and there's several areas where you can climb up steps to get to the top of the wall. The walk along the wall offers some breathtaking views looking into the old city, as well as looking out towards the new city that has modern buildings. Again, this area is targeted to the tourists, and there were a range of vendors selling their wares up there, with many actually asking you where you came from. And when we answered Australian, according to most of the vendors, Australians were apparently the most friendly and lovely people. I really did consider telling them I was from Uranus just to see what response I would get. Being in the tropics, the weather in Cartagena was really hot and humid, and we did have a spontaneous downpour. It honestly didn't last very long, and it was kind of over before it began. But I do have to say, once that water came down, the humidity really raised again. Next, from the top of the wall, we walked out from the clock tower and through the park area, the central park area that's just at the front. There were multiple small food vendors in the park, as well as portable stores selling different craft items and souvenirs. We even managed to see a wild sloth that was up in a tree that some locals kindly pointed out to us as we were walking past. I was a little hesitant, thinking it might have been a scam, but lo and behold, they were just kind locals that wanted to let us know that there was a sloth in the trees. We absolutely loved Getsemani, which was the area out past the park. Although we thought that the old walled town had been absolutely beautiful, this area in Getsemani was definitely giving it a run for its money. There were so many brightly coloured buildings and painted murals, and the area had just so much atmosphere. We ended up having lunch in Getsemani and decided that we would look for a small restaurant that was full of locals, and there were loads of places to eat, and we finally found somewhere that we thought would give us that opportunity. The food looked amazing as we were seated. The people around us, we were looking at their plates thinking this is so delicious. Although we speak absolutely no Spanish other than saying no thank you, and the waitress spoke no English, they did have menus that had photos, and with a little bit of finger pointing and some strange facial expressions from the waitress, we thought we had ordered some chicken fries and spicy rice. To much of our laughter, when our lunch was actually served, it ended up being fried chicken and a cold boiled potato. After many hours of walking, we headed back to port using the hop-on hop-off bus. The stop for this was very easy to find with the map that they had given us. Although you can see other areas of Cartagena using the hop-on hop-off bus, we opted to not do this and just head back to the port. And like I said before, if we were to come again, we would just use a taxi. There were loads of taxis in the old centre. The actual port area, Cartagena, is absolutely amazing. You could actually just spend hours in there. There's a completely free animal sanctuary with an abundance of different birds that were roaming the area wild, flying in and out of their own will. It was just incredible. We spent a good hour, if even an hour and a half in there, taking way too many photos, and I would recommend that when you're visiting Cartagena that you do factor in some time to explore in there. We absolutely loved Cartagena, and it's definitely on my bucket list to go back and visit in the future. Now, although we only explored the old city and Getsemani, there are different areas that you can visit. There's the new part of the city, and there's also places like the fort that you can pay an entrance fee and go and visit. We were completely satisfied with our day in port with visiting those areas. Now, as I said, we felt completely safe, and I would explore it on my own again in a heartbeat. Now, how much did it cost us? As I said earlier, the hop-on hop-off bus tickets, they were actually $40 a person, not $69 like I said earlier. Apologies for that. So all up, that cost us $80 for the two of us for the transportation from the port into the old town. And like I recommended before, I would save money and just do this on a taxi. There were so many taxis outside the port, and Uber was also available. On top of our transportation cost, we didn't pay any entrance fees into anywhere because everywhere we went was actually free. We had lunch, although a bit of an unusual lunch. We had lunch, we dropped into Starbucks for a drink, and we had that sneaky but delicious ice cream after lunch. All up, we spent $25 on all of those things. So it was a very economical and budget-friendly visit. Now, my recommendation is definitely to explore on your own. You'll have a great time, and you will be able to see what you want to see when you want to see that. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've found it helpful, please subscribe so that you can be notified when we put more port visits on your own out. If there's any particular ports that you're interested in doing on your own, pop it in the comments, and if we've been there, we'll put one of those videos together. You can see one of our other videos that we've already made, and like I said, you can feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting our channel.